Dear Jack Grealish, it's over. It's over for you. It's over for you this season. Because although you want to remind Villa fans 3 trophies since you've left us, it's over for you this season because there are no more trophies for you. And you will be remembered as that. And that is a sad state of affairs for a player who was once a boyhood fan, a player who loved the club, captained the club, drove the club from the Championship to the Premiership, kept us up, was our star boy. And he now wants to be remembered as it's over. It's over as well, your legacy in that sense of being the star boy. When we've got emerging talents now coming through, such as Morgan Rogers. Jacob Ramsey hopefully can one day find a season where he doesn't get injured and rewards the Villa fans with the faith and patience they've had with him. But there's also club legends now emerging like Emi Martinez, who have committed themselves to the cause, who have seen the bigger picture at Aston Villa and feel like he owes us as a club because of the faith that we gave to him when Arsenal no longer wanted him. Being remembered for that is going to be a sad state. And whether you agree or not, Jack Grealish, whether you still love him, whether you still loathe him, whether you feel he should have been booed, not been booed, regardless of that opinion, you have to ask that question, is it over? And in my opinion, it is. How can a player like Jack Grealish return to Aston Villa, come to us on loan, come to us as a sign-in, when that reaction yesterday said it all? It is over. And that is a hard thing for me to comprehend because I genuinely believe there was a place one day for him to return. Now, let's remember there was a minority of fans yesterday against Manchester City who decided to boo him. And that's fine. It is their opinion. I am not going to sit here and tell fans whether they should have booed him or whether they shouldn't have. I'm also not going to tell fans here whether you should love Grealish or not like him. But what I am going to say to fans is this. How can a player come back to us when some of us have dreamt to fantasize about that? Where some of us have maybe actually really looked at our squad and said he could be something we need. And then he does that. It is over. His output this season has been poor. His injuries started mounting up. And you've got to look at, do Aston Villa really need a Jack Grealish now? And I go back to my first point, because Morgan Rogers stole the show yesterday against Manchester City. Morgan Rogers was the sprinkle of dust, the icing on the cake, the glue of Aston Villa. And it has been all season, by the way. And there will be people who watch yesterday's game who haven't watched most of Aston Villa and gone, who's this Morgan Rogers lad? Because all season long, I have said, if Rogers isn't ticking in the middle of the pitch and Rogers isn't getting the ball in one-on-one situations or on the half turn, then Villa do not tick. We do not flow. We do not create. And Rogers did exactly that yesterday. But also, there will be people out there who will say, well, but actually, Rogers hasn't been that consistent. He loses the ball too easily. He can only play in that 10 role. If he's out wide left, he's nothing. Well, I think those people have been too critical of Morgan Rogers. Because Morgan Rogers, if you look at his journey, being rejected from Manchester City, to going to find his feet in the Championship, from Unai Emery snapping Middlesbrough's hand off and begging them all January last season, please can we have this man? To then playing in European quarterfinals and semi-finals, to being one of the first names on a Premier League team sheets. And now for me, being our star boy. Because Jack Grealish was that guy, but it's over. Because there's a new guy in town, Morgan Rogers. And I, for one, will say this, and I want to put that on record, that I always dreamt that Jack could return. I always dreamt that Jack had a place back at Villa to maybe give it one more go. We've seen the likes of Ashley Young do that in his career, come back, have one last swan song. But with Grealish now, it feels a bit bitter. It feels a bit distasteful, and he probably feels the same. He has absolutely snapped at the minority, And there's been a lot of backlash from that as well. And look, listen, the one thing I could hold hope to and say for Jack Grealish is we all believed a certain player in John Duran was over at Aston Villa. Let's not forget, once upon a time, a player called John Duran did this on an Instagram Live. It's funny to think that he did that this summer. It's also funny to think that football fans are fickle and that we do not forget. Or do we? Because John Duran now is a name that the Villa Park is belting out every week, that fans home and away appreciate this guy. And he's even dismantled Ollie Watkins out of this Villa side. This is how important John Duran is. He's almost, again, undroppable. So when we go to gestures and signs, you only have to take John Duran to realise just maybe, it's not quite over for Grealish. But why do I say it's over for Grealish? Because it's different. Because he was a boyhood fan through the academy, through the ranks, committed his whole life. And unfortunately for Jack, we grow attachment to these sort of players. We hold on to the ones who are our own even more. We absolutely cannot fathom them going anywhere else but our own badge. When it's an outsider like a John Duran, we're a little bit more fickle. We can forget. But there are too many out there who have not forgotten or forgiven Grealish. And I think in a way, yesterday was his little bite of the cherry to say, screw you, here's the free. So, look, it is an interesting one. And this is how I feel yesterday was a key time to announce and talk about that Jack Grealish has almost declared himself that he cannot return to Villa. Now, Michael Owen has been very vocal about this today, a pundit who, by the way, is probably trying to almost immerse himself in the situation because he once upon a time was like this with Liverpool as a player when he moved on at such a young age. Michael Owen has been very vocal to say he doesn't understand how Villa fans can absolutely treat Grealish like this because he basically carried our club. He cannot understand and he knows how Grealish feels. But that's all well and good, Michael Owen, you saying that, feeling that. And we have always said that without Jack, without that 100 million, we may have not been able to enforce ourselves to get into the Champions League like we did last year. But we also want that classness. We also want that person who shows that love and admiration. And while Jack hasn't really ever slagged Villa off in the media and never said bad words about Aston Villa, he's never also put on record how much he misses the club, how hard it was for him to leave. He always talks about that he went and got those trophies and he was hunting for those trophies and he wanted to win trophies. But mark my words, Jack Grealish, you won't win another trophy at Man City. I'll also be surprised if you're there next season. That free will be your only ever free. And that's how I feel about that matter. New players, new ideas, new faces to get behind. And we always have to say this. At Aston Villa, we play for the badge. We support the badge. We support the team. We don't support individuals. And that is something key to remember. And that's something that Grealish needs to remember, that a lot of these fans and our fan base support the badge. So let's wait and see how this unfolds. But I just think he has sealed his deal. Do you agree? You have to let me know in this video. And if you do disagree with me, I'd love to know your thoughts. Make sure you smash a like. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I hope you enjoy this video. Ta-da!